My name is Frank. I'm a bulldog, and frankly I look like someone crossed a steamroller with a stuffed toy. But don't let my appearance fool you. I'm actually a deep thinker, a philosopher, and sometimes even an ironic critic of modern society. My owner is the best person in the world. He's the one I'd jump into the heat of battle for, even if it means facing my fears or other dogs who clearly haven't read any etiquette books. After all, what are a few scratches and bites compared to his safety and smile? Every morning my owner and I have our own little ritual. He comes downstairs with the look of someone who has either forgotten his computer password or discovered that his favorite yogurt has run out in the fridge. Meanwhile, I sit by the door, wagging my tail and pretending I urgently need to go out to handle pressing business. In reality, I just want to see the world, smell the fresh morning paper, and of course, check if the neighbor's cat has left me another message in the flower bed. That cat is a real master of provocation, but I keep my cool because I have more important matters to attend to. This morning seemed ordinary. We went outside, and I immediately felt that distinct scent of freedom that only a dog can truly appreciate. The city was waking up, people rushing to work, cars creating a cacophony of sounds, and somewhere nearby, an old lady was grumbling about the latest bread price hike or the fact that young people are wearing pants that are too short. I thought, people get too caught up in little things. If they could appreciate the simple joys the way I do when I go on walks with my owner, the world would be a much happier place. We walked down the street, and I savored every moment. My owner was talking to me about his plans for the day, how his boss had complained about his report again, and how he dreams of a vacation by the sea, even though I suspect he's more afraid of water than I am of the vacuum cleaner. I, of course, only understood the tone of his voice, but that didn't matter. What mattered was that I was with him, and that made me the happiest bulldog on the planet. Cars zoomed by, people hurried, someone was talking on the phone, gesturing dramatically with their hands, as if that would make the signal better. I smiled to myself, thinking, if people could communicate as efficiently as dogs, with a few gestures and smells, how much confusion could be avoided. Suddenly my nose caught something unusual. A scent that couldn't be mistaken for anything. A mix of fear, aggression, and hunger. A pack of stray dogs appeared around the corner. Their eyes gleamed with a malicious fire, and their fur stood on end. They looked like they had just walked out of a nightclub where the free snacks had run out. I felt my heart start to beat faster, and adrenaline flooded my body. I tensed up, my ears pressed against my head, and the fur on my back stood on end. My owner hadn't noticed yet, still going on about how the news was talking about the latest gas price hikes and how it would affect his commute. I thought, if only humans could travel on 4 legs like us, they'd save a ton of money and nerves. But now wasn't the time for jokes. The pack was getting closer, their tails held high, their ears alert. I knew they weren't coming to chat about the latest news or exchange bone recipes. No, they saw us as intruders on their territory, and that could only mean one thing. A conflict was inevitable. Frank, what's wrong with you? My owner finally noticed my tension. I shot him a look full of determination and quietly growled, warning the unwanted guest that we wouldn't surrender without a fight. My owner glanced around, and when he saw the approaching pack, his face turned pale. I felt his hand tighten on the leash. The dogs surrounded us, their eyes full of hostility. My owner tried to step back, but I knew that running wasn't an option. If we turned our backs, they would attack without hesitation. I had to protect him, even if it meant getting a few more scars. After all, scars give me a tough look, and bulldogs wear that well. The first attack came from a large dog with a torn ear and a scar across his eye. He lunged forward, but I managed to push him away with my strong body. Pain shot through my shoulder. Someone had bitten me from the side. I turned and met the gaze of another opponent. His eyes were full of rage and desperation, but I didn't look away. If you think you can scare me with those scary faces, you clearly don't know what I look like in the mornings before breakfast, I thought sarcastically. My owner was shouting something, waving his arms, trying to drive them away. If only you had that pepper spray you've been meaning to buy for 6 months, flashed through my mind. Or maybe you should learn to use those fancy gadgets you keep buying but never open the instructions for. The fight was intense. I felt the enemy's teeth sink into my skin, but adrenaline and my desire to protect my owner gave me strength. If I can distract them, he'll have a chance to get away, I thought. but I knew he wouldn't leave me. We were a team, no matter what. At one point, I noticed one of the dogs trying to circle us from behind. "Not so fast, buddy." I leapt at him, knocking him off his feet. He yelped and bounced back. The other dogs paused for a moment, surprised by my determination. "Yeah, I may be small, but I'm fierce," I wanted to shout. My owner, finally realizing what was happening, grabbed a stick lying nearby and began waving it, trying to fend off the pack. "See? Sometimes simple solutions work better than all those fancy technologies," I thought, as I dodged another attack. People were passing by, but no one stopped to help. Some turned away, others pretended not to notice. "Thanks for the support, society," I thought sarcastically. "Glad I can count on you in a tough spot." Finally, after several minutes that felt like an eternity, the pack started to retreat. Maybe they realized we weren't easy prey, or maybe they just got tired. I stood there breathing heavily with bleeding wounds, but happy that we were both okay. "Frank, are you okay?" My owner knelt beside me, his eyes filled with concern and guilt. I licked his hand, showing him I was fine, even though I felt like I'd need a visit to the vet soon. "Don't worry, buddy. I'll survive," I wanted to say. We slowly walked home. My owner supported me, and despite the pain, I felt pride. Pride in being able to protect the person I loved most. Each step hurt, but I tried not to show it. The last thing I need is for him to blame himself, I thought. On the way, we passed that old grumbling lady who always complained about everyone. She looked at us and, noticing my wounds, said, "See what happens with irresponsible behavior. Stray dogs all over the city, and the authorities do nothing." My owner just shook his head, and I thought, yeah, of course, it's always easier to blame than to help. At home, my owner carefully treated my wounds. He spoke to me like an equal, telling me how scared he was and how thankful he was. I looked at him and thought, this is why I risk my life for you. Because you're my family, my world, and no pack of stray dogs or your human problems can change that. He called the vet to make an appointment. I heard him explaining what had happened on the phone, and I could feel his voice shaking. "Don't blame yourself, it's all fine," I wanted to reassure him. In the evening, after the vet visit, we sat on the couch. My owner turned on the TV, where they were showing more news about political scandals and economic crises. I thought, people really love to complicate things. Maybe they should learn from us dogs and enjoy the simple things. My owner petted me on the head. "You know, Frank, you saved me today. I don't know what I would have done without you." I licked his hand in response. "You'd probably still be complaining about traffic and gas prices," I thought with a smirk. The night fell over the city. I lay at his feet, listening to his breathing. The events of the day ran through my mind, but I knew one thing. I did what I had to do. And tomorrow, we'd go for another walk no matter what. "Good night, Frank," my owner whispered before falling asleep. "Good night," I replied mentally, knowing that tomorrow would bring a new day full of adventures, smells, and maybe new challenges. But I'm ready for them. Because I'm a bulldog, and my job is to protect those I love. In the end, what could be better than living life fully? Feeling every moment, every touch, every scent. People often forget this, diving into their gadgets and news about politics. But I live here and now, and my heart is full of love and loyalty. The next day, my owner decided to change our walking route. "I think we should go through the park," he said, putting on his jacket. I happily wagged my tail. The park is wonderful. So many new smells, sounds, and of course squirrels that always run up trees in such a funny way. On the way, we met an old friend, a Labrador named Max. He's always been an optimist and loved to tell stories about his adventures. "Heard you had quite the day yesterday," he asked, winking. "Yeah, had some fun with the local gang," I replied, pretending it was no big deal. "You've always been brave, Frank, but be careful. Not all dogs follow the code of honor these days," Max warned. "Thanks for the concern, buddy, but you know I can't help it," I smiled. The park was beautiful. The sun filtered through the tree branches. Birds were singing their songs, and the wind brought the sense of flowers and fresh grass. I enjoyed every moment, feeling my wounds slowly stop hurting. My owner sat on a bench, took out a book, and began reading. I lay beside him, watching the squirrels jump from branch to branch. I wonder what these little creatures are thinking. Probably about where to hide the next acorn, I thought. Suddenly I heard barking nearby. I lifted my head and saw that the very same pack of stray dogs was approaching us, but this time they looked less aggressive. Their leader came up to me and said, "We want to apologize for yesterday. We were hungry and scared. We didn't mean to cause harm." I looked at him in surprise. Apology accepted. But next time think before attacking someone for no reason. "Thank you. We'll try," he said, and with his pack, they walked away. My owner didn't notice, continuing to read his book. I smiled to myself. Sometimes even the toughest situations can be resolved peacefully. The day was coming to an end. We headed home and I felt happy and at peace. Life is full of surprises, but I'm ready for them. Because I have the most important thing, my owner and our friendship. Before bed, I thought, maybe people could learn from us dogs, how to forgive and understand each other. The world would be a little better. "Good night, Frank," my owner whispered again. "Good night," I mentally replied, knowing that tomorrow would bring a new day full of opportunities and joy.